Welcome to this retro review of the original OnePlus Nord. OnePlus has been my staple for smartphones after my very first smartphone, the Vodafone 858 Smart. Being my first smartphone, it blew my mind, but even by the standards of the time, it was small and underpowered. After the novelty wore off, I swiftly moved on to the original OnePlus, aka the flagship killer. This was followed by the OnePlus 2 and finally the OnePlus Nord. I never got around to doing a review for this phone when I first got it. It's a great phone and works for the most part, but after 4 years it's gotten a bit sluggish, and whereas the battery used to stay almost fully charged for over a day, now it quickly drains throughout the course of the day without barely having used it. So I decided that while I'm in the process of looking for my next phone, I'd quickly do a quick overview of this one. Right out of the box, the repeated etched Nord branding is carried on in the gossamer protective wrapping. The body has a sleek aesthetic with rounded edges and nearly invisible bezels due to the 6.4-inch screen which almost fully covers the entire front. I have a gripe with this which I'll highlight later on. The back has a high gloss, somewhat iridescent finish. Right in the middle is the OnePlus logo, and towards the bottom you can find the logo type as well. The 4-camera array is slightly raised and has a 48 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel depth, and 2 megapixel macro lenses. Over on the front, the selfie camera has a 32 megapixel wide and an 8 megapixel ultra-wide lens, which is the only cutout in the otherwise full coverage screen. Photos are good for the most part, especially for brightly lit or daytime shots which appear well balanced and sharp. Indoor shots under fluorescent lights offer great clarity and contrast without appearing blown out. Nighttime shots seem to offer great fidelity, however some auto-correction and boosting is apparent, which can lead to images being slightly washed out and fuzzy. This is particularly noticeable in the highlights, but overall the quality is very good. Videos are balanced and clear when there is adequate light, although similar to photos I have noticed exposure correction for low light and nighttime shots which gives out a washed out effect in certain cases, where the auto-correction overcompensates and washes out dark portions or details. On the bottom of the phone is the SIM tray, USB-C port, and a singular speaker. The non-stereo speaker isn't a big deal as I'd never noticed it, however the lack of a 3.5mm audio jack was a letdown. The options around this would be wireless earphones or ones with USB-C connectors, which aren't that common and severely limits options when it comes to quality and brands. This also makes whatever 3.5 equipped peripherals you have redundant. Sadly, this is a common retrograde feature in all modern phones. The phone features a Qualcomm octa-core processor and 8 gigs of RAM. Being something I only use for communication, casting YouTube or Netflix, this isn't a deal breaker. Although like I said, it has become sluggish lately with apps like Instagram or typical daily use and might not be the best if you're into gaming. When I first got this, there was a technical limitation for 5G connectivity, but software updates would have removed that. This phone was released in 2020 and with 5G rolled out just a year prior, it wouldn't have been such a big deal. The phone originally launched with OnePlus' own version of Android called Oxygen OS, with version 10 mapping to Android 10, and the latest update being Oxygen OS 12.1, which maps to Android 12. Considering the phone hasn't had an update in 4 years and the current Android version is 16, this would be another great reason to upgrade. Now, apart from these, there are two main massive pet peeves I have with the OnePlus Nord. One being that the vibration on this phone, even at the highest level, is barely perceptible. I always have my phone on silent, and this is especially important when I carry my phone in my pocket while out. Other OnePlus phones I've had would vibrate so hard as to be audible and would definitely be something you wouldn't miss when on your person. Another thing is that there isn't a message notification alert when the phone screen is off. On older models, when a new notification comes in, there's a blinking light in the upper portion of the screen. This would let you know at a glance that you have a new message to be viewed. This mainly happened as the full screen front meant that any built-in notification LEDs had to be removed. To make up for it, there's a ring LED around the front-facing camera cutout, which is supposed to show an animated light rotating around the cutout when there's a new message. This, however, requires a third-party app and it's not something that is built into the phone. Having said all that, it has served me for what I needed it the most, as a way to stay in contact with loved ones as well as photos and video making. Between the 5-year span from the release of the OnePlus 2 and the OnePlus Nord, as well as the 5 years from the OnePlus Nord being released and this video, I have missed several flagship and budget-friendly versions of the OnePlus. And recently, OnePlus offerings seem to have become lesser in number and hype. By November 2025, this would be 4 years since I purchased this phone, and there's nothing in particular to keep me with this brand. So after 11 years and 3 OnePlus phones, smartphones, I think it's time to move on to something else. So once I do jump ship, expect a new video out for that. Going forward, I would love to focus more on tech, but also on knowledge-based videos. So if you like this, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to help me grow. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.